Yeah, the New York Times is reporting that in early May, which is about 2 months before that phone call that the president had where he asked about those investigations to the Ukrainian leader, they say in early May there was a meeting in the Oval Office with President Trump, Rudy Giuliani, Mick Mulvaney, the chief of staff, and Pat Cipollone, the White House counsel who is now leading the president's defense on the Senate floor, where President Trump instructed John Bolton, then of course at the time the national security advisor, to connect Rudy Giuliani with the new president. And it said, quote, to ensure Mr. Zelensky would meet with Mr. Giuliani, who was planning a trip to Ukraine, to discuss the investigations that the president sought in Mr. Bolton's account. And according to this is written based off of that unpublished manuscript, of course, which has been at the center of the news this week. And according to the New York Times, Bolton never did make that call. But Anderson, this is significant because it places an event with not only the president's top advisors being involved in the president seeking this pressure campaign on the new Ukrainian leader just shortly after he was elected. The timing of this is early May. But also, of course, it is the first known indication of this before that call that the president had in July, where you could see where he brought up the Bidens, he brought up that debunked theory about Ukraine interfering in the election. And of course, this is his national security advisor, John Bolton, now writing that he did not take the president up on those instructions to connect Rudy Giuliani with the new Ukrainian leader. Now, of course, Anderson, the questions that are going to be asked coming out of this is why did the president wait until there was a new president in Ukraine to make this instruction? Had he had any interaction like this before? Because, you know, that was one of those questions that the White House counsel, the deputy White House counsel, could not answer this week when senators posed that question. They asked, had the president brought up this corruption investigation he wanted involving Ukraine and the Bidens before Joe Biden said he was going to start running for office, entering the presidential race, and of course any earlier instances with the previous predecessor in Ukraine. And of course those are going to be the questions that are coming out of this. And you have to look at the timing of this report coming on the day when we are just moments away from these senators getting back together on Capitol Hill to debate this motion about whether or not they are going to introduce new witnesses and new documents in the president's impeachment trial. And I've also got to say, we were speaking with White House officials this morning who felt good about Senator Alexander's statement that he was not going to vote for witnesses. But they have been really gun-shy this week after on Sunday when the New York Times published the first account of this manuscript of John Bolton's, and they were essentially worried that some other surprise could come their way. So they were not going to essentially start counting their chickens before their eggs hatch about the president getting this fast acquittal. So they were already a little pessimistic, and now you've got this another report landing just moments before these senators are going to go on Capitol Hill.